Hello everyone, this is AndresRestart, and this time we are talking about the legend of the missing Mario Kart World DLC. So many people, myself included, have been eagerly anticipating big updates to Mario Kart World. To me, it's a great game, but certainly there's so much more it could be, there's so much more it could have. Typically, different big Nintendo games get expansion passes or DLC waves. Mario Kart has gone it multiple times already, so it makes so much sense to think that there will eventually be DLC for Mario Kart World. And we certainly have evidence to suggest that there will eventually be DLC, that there are DLC plans. But why haven't they been announced yet? When would they be announced? What would they entail? That's what we're going to be diving into today. Now, before diving into the conversation, all I'm going to ask is that you listen through, and if you find yourself enjoying the video, to please subscribe. I'm trying to reach 60,000 subscribers hopefully soon, so yeah, I'd very much appreciate it if you do find yourself enjoying my videos. So here's a little bit of a summary of kind of why a lot of us think that there have been plans for DLC for Mario Kart World already. And when I say DLC, I mean like a significant expansion here, where Nintendo would make an announcement, there would be a trailer, there would be a series of different content additions, and there would be a roadmap. Different waves. Well, one of those waves we believe is related to Donkey Kong. And one of the big reasons for that is that since the game came out a year ago at this point, more than a year ago at this point, what we've noticed is that Donkey Kong, one of the main characters in Mario Kart, one of the main Mario universe characters who's always been around, and also Pauline, who has certainly taken a step up over the last couple generations, both of them only have one alternative costume. And this is very odd because other characters of similar significance, or in some cases lesser significance, have more alternative costumes than them. Most of the characters that have alt costumes, there's several for each. But for Donkey Kong, one of the biggest, most prominent, important Nintendo characters there are, he just has one. It's very, very weird. And then Pauline also only having one is kind of odd as well. But when you consider that Donkey Kong and Pauline are the two main characters for Donkey Kong Bonanza that had come out just a month after Mario Kart World, a lot of us were left thinking, oh, there's a reason for this. They have a Donkey Kong Bonanza themed update planned for Mario Kart World, but they're holding back, perhaps due to spoilers or timing or focusing on Bonanza first. That has been the thought process, and actually what's interesting, a little bit more evidence here, we have seen, and I'm not going to show who to avoid spoilers for those who have not seen all of Bonanza yet, but there are a couple key voice actors in Donkey Kong Bonanza that are also in Mario Kart World that are not accounted for. And so the implication here is that they've been planning for a while to have some sort of Bonanza content in Mario Kart World, but they haven't updated the game to show that yet, they have not revealed that yet, and so it seems like they've probably been planning this for some time, but here we are, a year after the game has come out, we just got the most recent Nintendo Direct, and there's been no announcement for Mario Kart World DLC. Now, it's not to say that they have not been paying attention to Mario Kart World. Nintendo has been continually updating Mario Kart World every few months, some smaller updates, some more significant updates. They've certainly improved things with the online. They've even changed around some of the tracks. They've provided some quality of life updates. They've definitely done things to improve the Mario Kart World experience since launch, and they're not nothing. It's pretty good in terms of free updates here. But when talking about Mario Kart DLC, what we want to see are new characters, new tracks, perhaps new modes, more costumes, more vehicles. Those are the kinds of things we want to see in Mario Kart DLC. And so, when might that happen? Well, we thought it might get announced in this most recent Nintendo Direct. Earlier this year, Nate the Hate, who's considered to be one of the most reliable insiders there are, did include Mario Kart World DLC as part of his predictions. Now, again, these are predictions, keep that in mind. However, most of his predictions have panned out, and there is a thought that a lot of his predictions are based on things he's heard. Not necessarily the case, but an example, he was predicting that Xenoblade Chronicles 2 would have some kind of definitive edition, and we did just get announced Xenoblade Chronicles 1, 2, and 3 Switch 2 editions. They have been enhanced, and not only have they been enhanced, there is new content in there. So effectively, these are like Switch 2 editions because we're seeing that performance boost, we're seeing that resolution boost, and we're seeing new content getting added. And so this prediction of Nate the Hates that he kind of maintained in multiple conversations or podcasts he put out throughout the year, it appears that that was a leak. Maybe it was just a really good prediction, perhaps, but given his inside sources, certainly people have that conversation and wonder if it perhaps suggests more. Now, before continuing here, here's a brief message. Do you find yourself feeling tired, unable to take a good nap during the day from wherever you may be? Then perhaps you are in need of a soft, comfortable sleep mask that blocks out all light. Fortunately, Manta Sleep, the sponsor for today's video, has just that, a quality sleep mask. This sleep mask has super soft, comfy cushions that cover your eyes and block out all light. It's easy to adjust to different sizes, and it feels great to wear, and it's helped me personally fit in just a bit more rest during my days. And signing up now might just be the perfect time to enjoy the summer night sale between June 19th through July 15th to save up to 20% off. So if you're looking to improve your sleep and energy, check out the Manta Sleep Mask using the link in the description below with my code SLEEPRESTART. And so one of the other predictions that Nate had throughout the year is that Mario Kart World would be getting DLC. However, in his Nintendo Direct Predictions podcast right before the Direct, he changed his stance, or seemingly changed his stance, because he said he was not expecting to see Mario Kart World DLC in the Direct. And so what might this mean, if it means anything at all? And I want to stress that point too, because again, these are based off predictions, as he's been calling them, not necessarily leaks, even though they might be. So keep that in mind. It may just be the way things shook out, and his prediction this time ended up being right, and he changed his stance over the year as time passed for whatever reason. Although, me being honest, I do kind of speculate that he heard something, and that's why he changed his stance, or at least did so specifically for this Direct. It may be the case that perhaps later on in the year, we will get that DLC for Mario Kart World. Maybe that's going to be announced in a September Nintendo Direct. Oftentimes in those September presentations, Nintendo does make announcements for content that would keep people playing Nintendo Switch Online. And so Nintendo may be saving something substantial like a Mario Kart World expansion pass to do just that. And maybe it's even something that's free if you are an expansion pack member, as Nintendo has done in the past, including for the Booster Course Pass, the expansion DLC to Mario Kart 8 Deluxe that came out years later. Which actually brings me to another point here. While maybe we still see DLC announced relatively soon, perhaps later this year, as part of something to retain online subscriptions, we've seen that Nintendo is willing to wait years before adding paid DLC to Mario Kart. But the Booster Course Pass situation is a unique situation. The Booster Course Pass occurred because Nintendo had been working on Mario Kart World throughout the Switch 1 era, and ultimately decided that it would be best to save it as a Switch 2 release, and so they had the Booster Course Pass come to Switch 1 instead. And I think a lot of this happened because with the Switch 1 and Mario Kart, it was a unique situation, because in the second month of the console they came out with Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, an enhanced version of Mario Kart 8 which originally came out on the Nintendo Wii U. And Mario Kart 8 Deluxe continued to sell, and became the best-selling Nintendo game of all time, even though it was technically a re-release, which is pretty special. Now, it's a pretty good re-release because it did improve upon the game in various ways, but that's what Mario Kart 8 Deluxe was. And so the Booster Course Pass situation was a very unique situation. Typically, if you're going to have like a Deluxe, a Remaster, a Definitive Edition, or something like that, you're not going to be announcing an expansion pass for a game like that, a re-release, immediately afterwards. And so I think the Booster Course Pass situation for Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is a very unique scenario. We go back to the original Mario Kart 8 launch on Nintendo Wii U. The game came out May 2014, and then in August, 3 months later, they announced the Mario Kart 8 DLC expansion pass. There are two different waves. And that's more of the norm, where Nintendo will announce an expansion pass to a brand new game just a few months after the game has come out. And so considering what's going on with Mario Kart World, where are we at here? Because it has been more than just a few short months, it's now been over a year. Will there be an expansion pass to Mario Kart World? Well, I go back to all the evidence I presented. I do think there are plans for that. I do think eventually they're going to want to do that. There are other reasons that Nintendo would want to do this. It's not just about online subscriptions. Because of how big of a seller Mario Kart is, that's a DLC that can probably make Nintendo more money than just a whole brand new game release. Like, it's cheaper to make DLC than a brand new game, and when the game is so big as Mario Kart World, that DLC is certainly going to bring in a lot of good sales that would be extremely beneficial for Nintendo. And of course, adding DLC will make more people want to pick up Mario Kart World, give it more of an oomph so it continues to sell well as the generation draws on. But another wrinkle that I don't think many people would consider is that once Nintendo does announce this expansion pass, it's going to become a big topic of conversation. It's something we're going to cover on this channel, of course, but it's going to be something similar to what happened with Mario Kart 8 Deluxe's Booster Course Pass, or the different Fighters Passes for Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. When these expansion passes have been announced, they lead to a great deal of speculation, theorizing, conversations online, word of mouth advertising these games, and so fans will be debating and talking about what's next for the Mario Kart DLC, or what's next for that next fighter in Smash Bros. Every day for a year or as long as that expansion pass lasts. And of course, those conversations will pick up even more when we start to approach that next time for a Nintendo Direct. And so announcing an expansion pass is great marketing, is my point here. So I definitely think it's going to eventually happen. It is an inevitability. It really just comes down to when, and maybe that when is this next September, but it is also kind of like a thing, like we've been kind of hoping to see DLC get announced at any point now, so it's kind of hard to say with any real confidence when that DLC is going to be announced. And we've also seen that Nintendo is the kind of company that can sit on things for very long amounts of time. So I have no doubt that they likely have at least some work done for the DLC already, and if Nintendo really wanted to, they could have announced it already and shown it off and have some of it come out. But I do have to wonder something else here, because when thinking about how they might go about expanding upon Mario Kart World, this wouldn't be the same as Mario Kart 8. It wouldn't be just like, hey, let's just add a few more cups, which will have a few more tracks, maybe a few characters you pick from the select screen, and there you go. It's not that simple, because Mario Kart World is a far more intricately designed game. Every track is within the map. Every track is interconnected, and they have different variations depending on if you're doing a Grand Prix or a Knockout Tour. And so you're going to have routes where you go at them from different angles and such. So to add DLC to Mario Kart World, considering the game's structure, it wouldn't really make sense to just have a Grand Prix select that has nothing to do with the map at all and is not connected in any way. What makes sense, considering the structure of Mario Kart World, is to literally add more tracks to the map. And so that will require redesigning the map or designing whole other islands that are nearby, potentially making them fit within the same open world and finding a way to make sure they are connected, either through a bridge or through running through the water, through portals or something. They're going to have to take that extra time to do that. And so really, when you think about it, while it's made so much sense for Nintendo to be making DLC for Mario Kart World, maybe one of the reasons, maybe this is the main reason actually, that we have not seen this expansion pass announced yet is because in order to expand Mario Kart World DLC, it needs to be something that's extensive, that requires some serious work in terms of reworking the actual open world. Like in the case of Donkey Kong, what if they're going to add like a Donkey Kong country? And so what if that's like a series of islands from the Donkey Kong universe? Or perhaps it's simply DK Isle but expanded upon. Like that could be one very elaborate big island there with several tracks, which would be wonderful, and that could be a part of one wave. How many waves would they do? This could be pretty extensive, and might even be more costly than your typical DLC. Now, there's a debate to be had there when you consider that Mario Kart World technically costs $80 USD. Now, most people bought Mario Kart World in the bundle, which is only $50 USD, a nice discount when you think of it in that way. But still, from an optics perspective, for Nintendo to release their most expensive game in a very long time, Mario Kart World at $80 USD, and then to announce an expansion pass that's going to be asking people more money, and if this expansion pass is more costly because it's going to require more development resources to expand on Mario Kart World in comparison to other Mario Karts, then there may be more expensive DLCs. So optically, that may not look very good. So perhaps another reason why we've waited so long is not just because of development time, but also to wait a little while so optically, it doesn't look like Nintendo is trying to pull out as much money from people as possible. I'm sure people online are still going to feel that way. I'm sure some of you listening are going to feel that way regardless. And I'm sure whenever this DLC is announced and there is a price and it's not completely free, I'm sure people are still going to make that point regardless of how long Nintendo waits. But it's something else that I think is worth considering here when we're trying to figure out why Nintendo has waited so long to announce the Mario Kart World DLC. But really what I think it is just waiting until the right time for the DLC to be ready, because maybe it is pretty expansive. I mean, really, we could even kind of spin this in a way to where it's actually very exciting. The longer we're waiting to see Nintendo announce it, the more it suggests that they're trying to do something pretty big here. Now, obviously, if we continue to wait for a very long time and nothing is announced, then that would probably lead you to believe that they're just not really working on it that much. Like, maybe there is something and it comes out years later, but it wouldn't be necessarily suggestive of it being extremely expansive. On the flip side, I'll also say this: we waited several years to get the expansion pass to Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, the Booster Course Pass, and that doubled the amount of tracks in the game. That's some pretty meaty DLC there, which was free for expansion pack members, by the way. So we'll see what happens here, but I still remain confident that this DLC is not that far off. For sure, it does not come out as soon as I was thinking, and I'm sure I'm not the only one. I'm sure most people assume they'll be coming out sooner because normally Nintendo announces DLC sooner, but this may be something more extensive, more expansive, which would then be pretty exciting, and so when it is announced, it would be a pretty big deal for Mario Kart World. But what do you all think? Let me know in the comments below. This is AndresRestart. Thank you so much for listening and watching, and I will see you all really soon. Take care. Bye. And don't forget, you can use my code SLEEPRESTART when checking the link in the description below for the Manta Sleep Mask.